Jimmy Joe McSweeney. Jimmy Joe McSweeney is a long-haired, bearded caveman who lives in West Virginia in the hills. Tales abound from those who claim they've actually heard him howl, to finding gruesome remnants of his kills. Some are downright positive that Jimmy is a werewolf, but I, for one, am not convinced he is, though folks keep finding footprints in the woods with giant claws, and everyone's convinced the tracks are his. The only thing I'll say is, though his folks are nice to look at, thank God he was their one and only child, 'cause all it takes is one quick look to help you understand that Jimmy Joe is crazy, mean, and wild. His face is so repulsive, if you saw him you would puke. His hair hangs to his waist, his nose is bent, and people say, to mark the spots where recently he's hunted, he'll actually lift a leg and leave his scent. His beard is close to 3 feet long, and when he stands erect, it actually hangs to well below his hips. And since he never trims his mustache, every time he eats, he has to raise it up to find his lips. All his clothes are camouflage, and when he roams the woods, the guy, at will, can virtually disappear. They say he moves so stealthily, the noise he makes while hunting is far too faint for all but dogs to hear. Many say that this is why he focuses on dogs when prospects for his meals become more bleak. And sure enough, each winter time, a lot of them go missing, at rates as high as 2 or 3 a week. It's said that when the weather's nice, he lives on leaves and berries, pocket gophers, possums, snakes, and frogs. But every winter I recall, once all the ponds had frozen, there'd always been a rash of missing dogs. Sure, I've heard the rumor about the missing Cocker Spaniel that vanished like a ghost on New Year's Eve. But whether one regards as true the claim that Jimmy ate it depends upon the version they believe. And just because the preacher's lab went missing last November, as all the lakes and ponds began to freeze, and then in March, before the thaw, that rumor went around about Mrs. Parker's missing Pekingese, doesn't mean that Jimmy Joe is actually eating canines. Though I'll admit it seems a little weird that Mr. Sheldon's border collie, just before the blizzard, wandered near the woods and disappeared. And I remember clearly on a Sunday last December, when all the lakes and ponds were frozen hard, some old guy stood up in church and asked the congregation if anyone had seen his St. Bernard. And then some feller hollered out, "McSweeney struck again!" But that, to me, don't really prove a thing, 'cause I don't think it's fair to get suspicious just for knowing a full-grown St. Bernard could last till spring. Yes, I know the snakes and toads he finds in warmer weather, by scrounging through the woods and round the bogs, disappear in wintertime. But I just can't believe that Jimmy Joe McSweeney's eating dogs.